Spirit and True Sanctuary, and happy Wednesday to everyone. So glad that you are joining us tonight for our continuing study series in Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth. It's really a journey into ourselves and to seeing ourselves a little bit more clearly. This is week 57. Can you believe that? Tonight is week 57. So we've been in this for well more than a year now, and I think we have still some ways to go. I am enjoying this journey immensely. We're going to begin tonight with our daily devotion. We are once again in our Fully Awake 365 devotion. Today is September the 6th. September is the month that we're focusing on the theme, Truth is a Journey, Not a Destination. And so if we say that a little differently, we are learning to celebrate truth. Not as an ending point, but as something that is a process of unfolding within us. And so today is September the 6th. We're going to talk on the devotion of a difficult question. A difficult question. Let's grab our affirmation at the very top. Would you rather me do prayer of surrender first?
It's totally to you. I'm behind. I'm not sure if they're hearing.
Okay.
Tell them to let us know if they're hearing you okay.
Let us know if you're hearing us okay. I want to make sure that we're all working on all cylinders tonight. If you're hearing us, let us know. If you're not, let us know, and we'll try to troubleshoot it pretty quickly. All right, I think we'll just jump right into our affirmation, if that's okay with everybody. Let's read together. Today, I am not afraid of difficult questions or unexpected answers. I celebrate questions as answers in seed form. My faith is flexible, fluid, and forever evolving. I know the truth that ultimately sets me free might initially piss me off. Yep, that's how it works sometimes. So, this difficult question was posed to me by one of my mentors who has now made his transition back to spirit, Dr. Harold Lovelace, who is just a precious soul and an enlightened spirit who helped me quite a bit along my journey. Very, very grateful for his input into my life. And so he asked me a question one day and only offered me two options as answers. So here was the question, okay? Or question option one. Either God cannot do it but wants to, or option two, God can do it but won't. And so these answers are responding to the question that we'll get to, so we'll unpack it in just a moment. Either God cannot do it but wants to, or God can do it but won't. Option one, or answer one, doubts the power of God. Option or answer two questions the character of God. Interesting questions, and we're going to add in free will, so everybody just relax a little bit. Let's apply this. Either God cannot solve world hunger, climate change, and bloodshed, but really wants to, or God can feed the hungry, rescue the polar bears suffering, and intervene in the Russian invasion of Ukraine, but won't. Wow, so what options are we left with? Is there not a third choice? So let's unpack this thing and kind of work our way into the third choice. I am a theologian, so allow me to settle some fears or maybe even some questions. I'm fully aware that we have been given free will and that God does not infringe on our agency to choose. Yet, historically, God miraculously intervened for Moses and the children of Israel, freeing them from bondage and feeding them in the wilderness. God also sent a flood that intervened with both man's will and also with the earth's climate. Most of our scientists agree that the flood affected the climate of the earth to eliminate evil. So why would God do it then and not now? Aside from the ridiculous answers of it's all in God's timing, it's not my season, and we don't have enough faith, this question poses a real threat to the character of God. So let's walk into option three to this predicament. Good news, there is a third option, but this option painfully places the answer heavily, squarely, solely upon our shoulders. Here it is. We are made in the image and likeness of God. This means we can feed the hungry. We can reduce, reuse, and recycle. We can wean ourselves off of oil dependency. We can find peaceful resolutions to avoid bloody conflicts. But We choose not to do so, preferring prayer, begging, and fasting to move the hand of God. Here is the basic truth. While we are waiting on a God up there, God is waiting on us down here. I love this last sentence. Listen to this. The God without awaits the God within. Look at that. And so, difficult question. Yeah, either God cannot do it but wants to, can do it but won't do it. There's a third option. The God in us and as us is what God is waiting on, waiting us to wake up to our full expression of divinity. All right, let's grab our prayer together at the very end of today's devotion. Divine presence, help me awaken to your power in me. Amen. So it is. That's September 6th in our devotion together. Looking forward to reconnecting with you again Friday morning for our Fully Awake devotion. All right, we're going to jump in tonight into our teaching. Just a quick announcement. We are doing a cooking show together after this, and so this event will end. You'll have to come back on, and we'll log off for just a moment, get set up again, and then you guys can join us once again. But you can grab the ingredients if you want. I've already kind of prepared everything in my kitchen for tonight. And I think we're going to have a good time. So we probably will attempt to end tonight's discussion about 7:15 or so. So we'll try to end about 7:15, jump back on at about 7:20. And so we're going to cook some healthy foods.
7:30.
What's that?
Set it for 7:30.
For 7:30.
Probably should wait till then because people might be confused.
Okay, we'll wait till 7:30 then. We'll jump back in at 7:30, but it'll give us a chance to get set up, give you a chance to catch your breath, get your things together, and then we'll cook together tonight at 7:30. All right, welcome once again to Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth. This is week 57. You can grab your notes in the event description. Also, we sent you an email today letting you know about tonight and also the questions, our discussion questions for tonight. And so we're going to jump in. We have been talking about some recurring themes in Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth. One is our ability to recognize our own insanity, our ability or our cognizance of our own dysfunction lays the foundation for sanity and for functionality. And so we've also talked about identifications, both how we identify ourselves physically, that's part of the ego, male, female, our skin color, the temporary inordinate attachment we have, the permanent attachment we have to this temporary body. That is the ego working in a physical construct. Also, our mental constructs is something that we've been identifying. We are not our beliefs, we're not our thoughts, we are not our opinions, but we are the spirits capable of experiencing all of that diversity of thought. And then finally, we have been talking on the idea that our eternal capacity is much larger than our present consciousness. And so wherever we are in thought right now, philosophically, religiously, socially, culturally, individually, personally, whatever that is, wherever you are in your thought process right now, that is not your eternal capacity. It's just your present consciousness. We know that we all have unfolded into higher realms of vibration, enlightenment, and understanding. And so we also offer that space and that grace to others that are maybe resonating in a lower vibration, perhaps of racism or homophobia, or some type of religious hierarchical construct that has superiority and colonialism written all over it. And so whatever that is, as we have come up higher, we give others the space to as well. They are not people that we encounter that are ignorant or that are operating in a lower vibration. That is not their eternal capacity. It's just where they are right now. And so we are fully capable of awakening to our divine selves. All right, last week's questions. We asked the question, what does it mean to be in alignment with what is? That's going to be a little bit of an introduction into tonight. How does accepting the moment as it is keep us from inviting drama? Interesting. We're going to resonate a little bit there as well tonight. Number 3, can you identify situations in your own life where you were in resistance to the moment? Whether that might have been denial, projecting to the past or the future. Number 4, and then we made the application, how did your resistance affect the situation? So we're going to talk again tonight about being in the now, and some of that moment of resistance is going to come back up in the teaching tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about denial and what the ego does to us as it factors in time It's going to be an interesting both teaching and discussion tonight. Tonight's questions are this before we jump in. Do you view the present moment as your friend or as an enemy? Is the present moment your friend or is it an enemy? Number 2, how does the present moment disguise itself as an enemy? What disguises does it take and show up as an enemy? And finally, number 3, if the ego survives on time, and we're going to talk about that some tonight, if the ego survives on time, how does religion fuel the ego? If the ego survives on time, how does religion or the religious mindset fuel the ego? Interesting questions tonight. Week 57, we're going to talk about the ego and the present moment. The ego and the present moment. The most important, the primordial relationship in your life is your relationship with the now, or rather, with whatever form the now takes. That is to say, what is or what happens. If your relationship with the now is dysfunctional, that dysfunction will be reflected in every relationship and in every situation you encounter. That's a big statement there. Let's read it one more time. If your relationship with the now is dysfunctional, that dysfunction, okay, with the present moment, will be reflected in every relationship and in every situation you encounter. And so how does that dysfunction show up? It shows up as denial of the present moment. It can show up as blame. It can show up as guilt or shame. It can show up as fantasies or fantasy thinking of projecting peace into the future. Resenting the present also ensures that we repeat painful lessons. So that dysfunction of not being able to accept the present moment as it is invites denial, blame, shame, projection of ourselves into the future, or maybe even into the past, a safer, better day in our past. But all of that affects our present relationships and how we encounter every situation. The ego could be defined simply in this way: a dysfunctional relationship with the present moment. It is at this moment that you can decide what kind of relationship you want to have with the present moment. And as we know, the present moment is all that there is and always is the present moment. Once you have reached a certain level of consciousness, and we know there are different levels of awakening, you are able to make this decision. Here it is. Do I want the present moment to be my friend or my enemy? Okay, and so that was our first question tonight. We're going to unpack that a little bit. And so if you're curious about Tolle's offering an answer to that question, we're going to get it in the next 4 or 5 lines. Do I want the present moment to be my friend or my enemy? The present moment is inseparable from life. So you are really deciding what kind of relationship you want to have with life. Once you have decided you want life to be your friend, it is up to you to make the first move. Become friendly toward it. Welcome it no matter in what disguise it comes, and soon you will see the results. Wow, so let's stop there for just a moment. So when life happens, sometimes it is things that we create. Sometimes it is things that we have thought that then manifest in our behaviors and our choices, in our vibrational level of what we attract and who we attract to ourselves. And so in that way, when life shows up, we are creating life. And if we don't embrace the moment as it is, we are denying that we have any part to play in what we are creating. Okay, that's one level. There's another application as well, that we are also subjected to the collective consciousness. I try to do my best to make a small carbon footprint. We try to recycle at my house. We try to reuse, reduce. We try to, the last couple of cars that we've bought, both for my daughter and for my son, have been very fuel efficient cars. One of them is a hybrid. Brandy and I will hopefully in the future, when we need to purchase our next car, we'll do something a little bit more fuel efficient and environmentally friendly. And so at our church, we encourage recycling and reducing what we use. So what does that mean? As I am changing my thoughts, I'm also changing what I'm creating in my life. However, I cannot convince every citizen of the world to take environmentalism seriously. I can't make them do it. And so what I'm creating in my awakened state of wanting to be friendly to the environment, I may not always experience that in the collective consciousness of what everybody else does. So there is some wiggle room, there is some nuance here. It's not an absolute. It's not black and white that everything that shows up in your life is your creation. Many things are. I would even throw in here that most things are. However, we are also exposed to the collective consciousness. You may not be a racist. You may not be homophobic. You may not feel superiority over other religions. That doesn't mean you're not going to be exposed to that part of the collective consciousness. And so just wanted to unpack that. That's important for us to unpack that occasionally together. Okay, life will then, let's read back to that next one. Welcome it no matter what disguise, the now, the present moment, what disguise it comes, and soon you will see the results. Life will then become friendly toward you. Okay, people will become more helpful, circumstances more cooperative. One decision can change your entire reality, but you must make it again and again, always choosing to be present, always choosing to accept the moment as it is. That doesn't mean it is what it is. There's no acquiescence. There is no sense of victimhood or helplessness or even hopelessness. We can change our situation. We may not be able to change the world, but we can change our sphere, our circle of influence, what we're attracting to ourselves relationally, our health, financially. That is something that we can change in our individual life experience. So, to go a little bit higher, instead of looking for something that's coming our way, praying, asking, begging, seeking, fasting, hoping, wishing, projecting into the future, prophesying, instead of those methodologies that aren't so effective, we become a vibrational match with the thing that we want to experience. So what does that mean? If I want a loving relationship, I have to become a vibrational match with love. If I want to be more healthy, I don't pray for good health. I take on a healthy mentality of what I cook, the way that I treat my body, exercise. Yeah. If I want to be more honest, I want to have more honesty in my friendships and relationships, I have to become a vibrational match with honesty. Yeah. So these things don't happen by accident. We become that vibrational match, and then those things are attracted to us. The creation is not just in the doing, it is in the making peace with the present moment as it is. And so when we want to be a friend to the present moment, the first thing we have to do is embrace that it is here, make peace with it. Doesn't mean that we have to like it, okay? But making peace with it means I recognize it's here, and then begin to see more clearly is how we can change the present moment if we desire. The decision to make the present moment your friend is the end of the ego. I like that. The ego can never be in alignment with the present moment, since its very nature compels it to ignore, resist, and devalue the now. All right, so we're going to start kind of creeping into another question, and that is, how does religion, if the ego lives in time, how does religion fuel the ego? Okay, so time, here we go, is what the ego lives on. The stronger your ego, the more time takes over your life. Almost every thought is concerned with either the past or the future. Okay, so Jesus gave us some interesting ideas about celebrating the now. He said, why do you worry about tomorrow? What you eat, what you wear, where you're going to go, where you're going to sleep. Today, he said it in a little bit lower vibration. He said, sufficient for the day is its own trouble, is how that's quoted in King James. What does that mean? There's enough for you to focus on today rather than worrying about yesterday or tomorrow. Okay? But in a little bit different expression, Jesus also critiqued the religious orders' inordinate attachments to their past leaders, Abraham, Moses, Elijah. Jesus was constantly saying, why are you looking for them again? Why are you so caught up with them? You're not able to celebrate the present moment and allow Spirit to guide you into a now organic truth because you are stuck on what God said in the past through people who interpret it through their own gender and their race and their culture and the time and the geography and all of those things. Yeah. So then he clears up the idea, Jesus, when will the kingdom come? Okay, that's the ego saying, so this is part of the answer to how does religion fuel the ego. When will the kingdom come? Can we get into it? When will Jesus come back? That is the ego being fueled by religious ideas. Prophecy must be fulfilled. The earth must turn to this, the moon to blood. The Antichrist must come out of this area. And all of this imagery that is nothing more than metaphor. Yeah. So when our future answer is always on the way, that is religion's way of fueling ego because ego lives on time. It eats time. It needs us to be in time. Why? Because the greatest enemy of the kingdom being here and now is always that it's on the way. Jesus reminded us very clearly, the kingdom does not come by observation. They'll say, see here or see there, signs of the times, all these things. Yeah. But Jesus said the kingdom of God is within you. That means it's not an external kingdom. It's not even an external Christ figure that's coming back to establish a kingdom. The kingdom is within, so it's not material. It's not geographical. It's not in Israel. Okay, there's no specific Holy Land, even though we love Israel and we love all those who travel there and live there. The kingdom of God is within. It's not external. It's not a material. It's not a physical kingdom. It is within. And if it is within, it is here and now, and you can wake up to it anytime you choose to. All right, keep coming. There are three ways in which the ego will treat the present moment: as a means to an end, as an obstacle, or as an enemy. And so anytime that we are projecting things into the future, we are living in something that happened in the past, that is the ego's way of projecting itself and feeding itself instead of being present at this moment. It's a means to an end. So this present moment, I hate it. I just have to do this to get to the thing I really want to get to. It's an obstacle. It's something I've got to overcome instead of something that I'm learning through, something that I'm solving in the present moment, or just specifically as an enemy. The present moment is always in my way of getting into what's in the future. When you know these patterns, you begin to recognize them and decide not to follow or give in to them. So, self-awareness, as we talked about some on Sunday, with talking about the spirit mind over and against the animalistic mind, self-awareness begins to ask deeply philosophical questions like this. Not only can you think, but furthermore, what do you think about? And here we go. Let's really get into a spiral dynamic. What do you think about what you think about? So I'm a thinker and I have thoughts, but what do I think about my thoughts? Those are three different levels of self-awareness. So most people live in level 1 and 2. I can think, these are my thoughts, and that's it. These are my beliefs. These are my opinions. This is my experience. These are my memories. This is the content of the iCloud in my brain. Yeah. But there is a third level that says, what do you think about what you think about? And why do you think the way you think? And are you bigger than the conditioning and preconceived notions that maybe were culturally, religiously, geographically somehow passed down to you? Interesting. All right. When treated as a means to an end, the present moment, by the ego, the present moment is only there to get you to some future moment that is considered important, or better, or happier, or more peaceful, or less stressful, or in a different place with different people, whatever. You are never fully in the present moment because you are always busy trying to get or be or to be elsewhere. To get somewhere else or to be, maybe even be somebody else. I am going to start being more healthy on January 1st. I know it's September now. I've got 4 months to continue in my unhealthy habits. But come around January 1st, something magical is going to happen when the clock strikes midnight on December 31st, and I'm all of a sudden going to have a healthy mindset. So the ego, even when it comes to the physical treatment of our bodies, is living on time. It's being fed time. Tomorrow I will learn to save money more. Maybe next year I will learn to budget better, be a better friend, be a better spouse, a better parent. But now I've just got too much on my plate. But it's always in the future that something's going to happen. So peace and happiness always seem to happen after certain events. We can basically apply that to the entire prophetic nature of the Bible. It's always something about the future. When this pattern becomes more pronounced, the present moment is regarded and treated as an obstacle to overcome. I've always got to get over something in the present moment. This is where impatience, frustration, and stress arise. When I can't embrace the moment as it is, we become impatient, frustrated, stressed. I would also add in here that this is where blame comes from. Either blaming the devil, blaming God, blaming someone else for our experience of the present moment. Life in the form of the present moment is now seen as a problem that needs to be solved before you can be happy, fulfilled, or even content. The problem with this is for every problem that is solved, another one pops up. Yeah, isn't that interesting? As soon as you get the answer to one question, there's another question. As soon as you solve one problem, another one pops up. As long as the present moment is viewed as an obstacle, there can be no end to problems. Isn't that interesting? There's always some other problem that's out there. So, you've heard the statement that the grass is always greener on the other side. I'm learning that the grass isn't always greener. It may be different grass. It may be different type of grass, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's better or greener. It just might be different, a different scenario. But wherever you go, there you are. And so future grass is also not greener. Past grass is not greener. Okay? And so the greenest place you can be is in this present moment. Fully awake, accepting it as it is, being cognizant of your power to either change it or to at least embrace what you created in it, and to know that peace is not at the mercy of any sort of future event that's going to happen. Peace is always found in the present moment. At worst, the present moment is treated as an enemy. When you hate what you are doing, complain about your surroundings, curse things that are happening or that have happened, or when your inner dialogue consists of shoulds and shouldn'ts, I like that, of blaming and accusing, then you are arguing with the present moment as it is. Isn't that interesting? The first moment of Adam and Eve's, and this, I believe this to be a metaphor, perceive it to be a metaphor, the first moment of their awareness, they now think that there's a problem. I'm naked. I have to hide. God is going to be displeased with me in some way. God comes again to talk to them. They are not kicked out of the garden yet until they basically kick themselves out. Adam, why are you and Eve hiding? We're naked and we're ashamed. Who told you? You're perceiving the present moment as a problem, as an obstacle, as shame, as sin. Perceive it as being at peace, and who knows? Adam and Eve might have remained in the garden. Who knows? Yeah, all right, keep coming. You're making life itself your enemy, and your life becomes a war. You ever notice that we have some friends and family members who are absolutely never at peace? There's never anything good to say. There's never a good report. There's always something negative. There's always a reason to cry and not to laugh. There's always a reason to worry and not to be at peace. Yeah, all of us have experienced that. Externally, external reality always reflects back to you your inner state. All right, we're going to go to a different space now. Listen to that. External reality always reflects back to you your inner state. How could we say that differently? As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. As within, so without. As above, so below. Okay, on earth as it is in heaven. In manifestation as it is in imagination. Some people say it this way, where your attention goes, the energy flows. Okay, so what you give your attention to, that's where the energy goes. All of that is saying that our outward reality, the external reality, is just a mirror of what's inside of us. So our relationships, our difficulties, unless it's the collective consciousness, we are being only exposed to what we're creating from our inward kingdom. Let your kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. Yeah, in manifestation as it is in our imaginations. If war is how you handle life, your outer life will be experienced as hostile. So, there's another way that I've heard this taught, and that is that none of us have any secret thoughts. None of us have secret things that we think about. Why? Because if we give our mind to it long enough, our secret thoughts show up as our lives. And so in essence, our lives become like a looking glass. And everyone around us can see what we've been thinking. If we're always stressed out, if we're always anxious, if we're always procrastinating, if we are always in a fire drill of some sort, if we are perpetually mad at someone or impatient, that is just kind of a reflection of what's going on inside. Yeah, and so our relationships take on that tenor and timbre. Our happiness, our peace, our joy, it is all affected by the inner state. Yeah, our finances, our health, all that can be part of that inward kingdom expressing itself outwardly. A vital question to ask yourself frequently is, what is my relationship with the present moment? This question is an excellent way of unmasking the ego in you and bringing you into the state of presence. Remember, now is all there ever is. Wow, that's pretty good tonight. All right, let's jump back and just be refreshed about our discussion questions for tonight. Question number 1, do you view the present moment as your friend or enemy? Question number 2, how does the present moment disguise itself as an enemy? Question number 3, if the ego survives on time, how does religion fuel the ego? All right, let's talk tonight.
All right, lots of questions, answers and discussion. And let me try to, I'm trying to decide, D.E., do you like it when I stick with number 1 and go down, or stick in the order?
Yeah, whatever's good.
I can't decide. Sometimes it's a very obvious choice based on how everyone answers. Okay, so we're just going to go by person then. Let's start with Miss Bobby. Miss Bobby, for number 1, do you view the present moment as your friend or enemy? I view the present moment as a friend, but I have to choose to face reality even when it's difficult.
Yeah, isn't that in essence celebrating the moment as it is, Bobby? Yeah, you couldn't have. I don't think it could have been said any better. Beautiful. Thanks, Bobby.
For number 2, how does the present moment disguise itself as an enemy? The present moment disguises itself as an enemy when chaos presents itself and nothing seems to be going my way. I have to see it for what it is.
Yeah, that there it is, Bobby. You said it at the very end. You hit the ball out of the park. Chaos presents itself in the present moment. I see it as an enemy, but is it really just disguised as an enemy? Perhaps the chaos is there to teach, to allow us to see ourselves. Beautiful, Bobby. I like it.
All right, Miss Mary Hayes for number 1. Do you view the present moment as your enemy or friend? She said, to answer question number 1, I thought I viewed the present moment as my friend, but in reading the notes, I realized that when things don't happen fast enough, I or my ego gets frustrated and I start pushing past the now or present and attempting to look into tomorrow to no avail. Reading this question allows me to breathe, reboot, and show gratitude for this moment.
Wow, Mary, what you answered was so good. I had to make a little note. I keep these notes in my phones about things that I'm thinking about and might teach at some point. Your answer was so good. I was like, yeah, I'm going to forget what Mary said if I don't put this in my notes right now. That was great, Mary. So what was that moment of self-actualization, Mary? Yeah, I thought it was a friend, but maybe the way I'm approaching it isn't so friendly. Well, that's the awareness that makes it a friend, isn't it? Yeah, you just like organically went through making friends with it right there. Yeah, if I don't see the way I'm approaching it, it's never going to be a friend. And I have to take an inventory in this way. And it's in that awareness, as Tolle teaches us, that awareness is all you need. Just the awareness of self. Thank you, Mary. That was incredible.
All right, I'll go to Richard tonight. So for number 1, unfortunately, excuse me, I often do not consider the present moment as a friend, but rather with fear and concern about how I will have to deal with present reality. That is an uncontrollable, unpredictable, and unavoidable presence that requires my full attention, for which nothing in my past or future should impact.
Whew, that's a lot to unpack, Richard, isn't it? Wow, how it presents itself. Past and present shouldn't be in there. So think about, let's stay right there, Richard. Think about in the present moment. If past or future comes in, then it's very difficult to celebrate the present moment as a friend. So what does that mean? Even with our filters, Richard, if experiences from the past are creating a filter through which we see life negatively, chaotically, skeptically, anxiously, fearfully, whatever that is, that's not allowing us to see things as, so it's actually skewing our our ability to see things objectively. So future is trying to get us out of it. Past is trying to skew what is. Yeah, I love that, Richard. That you kind of took me to a different place. Great.
For number 2, Richard said, when we fear and consider the present moment a challenge that must be properly dealt with, it is the time it can become our enemy and negatively impact and limit our ability to fully remain in the present. Yeah,
fear disguises. That's a lot, isn't it? Yeah, we fear difficult things that we have to deal with. Yeah, are we capable of being honest tonight that the present moment isn't as much a friend as maybe we thought it was? Difficult conversations, why do we view them as difficult? Being truthful, being forthright. Those are things that cause us to not make friends with the present moment, but it doesn't have to be approached fearfully if the truth does set us free. And then we have to ask the question, what is the truth? What is our perception of truth? That's a lot of relativism. Thanks, Richard.
For number 3, regarding religion, he said, religion is the ego's best friend. It seeks to control, define, and unfortunately determine who and what we are supposed to be, as well as how we deal not only with the past, but also the future.
Yeah, that's a lot of classification, isn't it? A lot of definitions, a lot of labels that the ego loves to eat on. And then specifically with time, Richard, the past is the ego's friend. The future is the ego's friend. And how do we relate that religiously? I think you did. So the past, Jesus, we have heard of old. I live my life by the 66 books called the Bible. I cannot hear what Spirit is saying now, even though I know the Bible is full of culture, full of tribalism, full of racism, full of misogyny, full of superiority and hierarchy and colonialism and encouraging war and slavery and, oh my God. Yeah, but I'm so married to what God said, I cannot rightly divide the Bible in this present moment. That's interesting, isn't it, Richard? So our inordinate attachment to the Bible and what has been said fuels the ego, and religion is full of ego. Furthermore, everything's so awful right now that I look forward to a better day, the kingdom coming, when I go to heaven, mansion in the sky, all that stuff. Yeah, that's all how the ego fuels religion and time. Thanks, Richard.
All right, I am going to jump back to Miss Bobby, who answered number 3, and I missed it. Miss Bobby, for the same one, said, religion fuels the ego because our way is the only way. What I say goes, and I know what's best for you.
Yep, and that knowing what's best usually comes from the past. Past teachings, past constructs, past doctrines, past rituals, past all of that. Think about even the days we worship, the clothes we wear, the songs we sing. All that comes to us from the past. And so that's good, Bobby. Thank you.
All right. Fred Hayes shared, I thought I chose the present moment as my friend until I realized that my ego was wondering what was going to happen next, especially with my current interactions with my staff at work. When reading the notes, I realized I need to stay in the present moment.
Look at you, Fred. Mary must, whatever Mary's got's contagious. She's getting it on you. Yeah, that's a lot of self-actualization, Fred. And it's also a difficult application, isn't it? Yeah, and so not just staying present in my spiritual realm of meditations, but staying present in how does this apply to work, coworkers, people who are difficult, have difficult personalities to deal with. That's great, Fred. Thank you.
All right. Let's see. I'm going to skip around a little bit. So Miss Lasagna Watson responded, I think it's to all three in one response. So I'll read her entire response. She said, as an inherently impatient person, which I think a lot of us can be.
Of course, yeah.
I often grapple with viewing the present moment as my friend or enemy. I've noticed that when I rush through life, the present moment disguises itself as an enemy filled with stress and anxiety. It's clear to me that my ego, which thrives on time-based desires and achievements, can be unwittingly fueled by religious beliefs that promise future rewards or salvation. This realization encourages me to explore a more patient and present-focused approach to life and spirituality. Thus, I like this, I keep coming back to this mystical space, Spirit and Truth Sanctuary, renewed with a beginner's mind, continually astonished at the levels of higher vibration I'm achieving.
Look at that. That was Miss Lasonia Ivra. That was a confession. You confessed what you have been, how you have been approaching it. You even salted in a different methodological approach to yourself, and then you gave space for gratitude. Look at all that in one big answer. You saw yourself for the way you were approaching it, envisioned a different approach, and then gave gratitude for anything that's bringing you a new awareness. I love it. Thank you, LaSonia.
All right, Miss Laverne, for number one, wrote, the present moment. Do you view the present moment as your friend or enemy? Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I said it right. She said, it's an enemy. The present moment is an enemy when there is chaos. However, a friend when I learn from the chaos.
That's great. That's great. That's Laverne. That was Laverne?
Yes.
Yeah, Laverne, that's a lot of wisdom there. You know, it's hard to see God in those terms because we have a kind of an idealistic view of God as always being good. But remember, we don't eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So God isn't necessarily good. God isn't necessarily bad. God is. The I am that I am is not good or bad. I know that's a teaching that a lot of evangelicals can't wrap their mind around because they equate righteousness with good. They equate justice with good. They equate love with good. But God is bigger than the constructs of good and evil. God is consciousness, awareness, I am that I am. And so that's how we apply the writings of the prophet Isaiah, who says, I, the Lord God, Isaiah 50, chapter 45, and then again in chapter 54, I, the Lord God, create the light, and I form the darkness. I make peace, and I cause calamity. I do all of these things. And so if God is only good, what do we do with darkness? If God is only good, what do we do with calamity that God causes? We know that God doesn't cause these things. This is how creation unfolds itself. And so, yeah, that concept of good and evil must stay in that garden space where the tree of the knowledge of good and evil is. We choose not to say God is good or evil, but God is the I am, the awareness, the consciousness, the ever-presence, the divine observation. That is tapping into that God space. That's really good. And so that's how you applied it, Laverne, is that when things show up as chaos, it's bad. But when I learn from the chaos, it's good. So isn't it all working together for the unfoldment of your soul? I love it, Laverne. Thanks.
All right, Jason responded to all three. He said, I have no choice but to view the present as my friend. Every moment is now. As Tolle also says, when the future comes, it comes as the now. So every moment is the now.
Yeah, embracing it as it is and knowing that you still have some power and some agency in that to see it rightly. Thanks, Jason.
All right, number 2. He said, in moments of fear or anxiety, it is easy to see the present moment as my enemy.
Yeah, some of our present stresses that take on that form, at least in our perception of them at that time, when we look back, how do they automatically become a friend? How does a breakup or losing a job or moving to another place or whatever life throws at us, how does it that we look back and go, I wonder how that thing that was such an enemy transitioned into being the best thing that ever happened to me. Yeah, that's a part of learning to embrace the moment as it is. Thank you.
All right, and then number 3, Jason said, religion fuels the ego by making me think that I have to perform by keeping certain rules. It is fear-based. Jesus said, it is finished. We are not separated from the Father, but religion does not believe that. There's always something we need to do to add to what Jesus already accomplished.
Ooh, look at that good universal salvation teaching right there. That's inclusion 101 right there, Jason. Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I will be redeemed. I will be like Christ someday when I see him or it. All that's future stuff, isn't it? Yeah. Or I will be at peace with God someday, and after I stand before the judgment throne and give an account for every word, every idle thought. All that is religious construct, isn't it? It's keeping us into the future and not being aware, as Colossians reminds us, that we are only enemies in our minds. We never have been separated from God. We were just separated in a lower consciousness of separation anxiety. Excellent. Thank you. All right, man, that's a lot of pretty powerful answers tonight. Look at you. What you mean with all that openness and perception that you have tonight. I loved our discussion tonight. Thank you guys for being a part of it. I always love sharing sacred space with you. We are going to dismiss in just a moment. We'll read our prayer of affirmation, and let's see. Did we want to? I think we'll do some shouts out. Yeah, I think we have time to do some shouts out. On live stream, Facebook and YouTube, Dr. Ray, Josephine, Rosaline, Elaine, Ben and Vicky, Myrna, Jason, Ethel, Laverne, Ivy, and Margie, Pastor Gloria and Howard, Bobby Moore Howard, Terry, Pastor Fred and Mary, Emma, Vita, Johnson, LaSonia, Sheila, Taria, Doreen. I think Doreen just celebrated a birthday, if I'm not wrong. Happy birthday again. Emma, let's see, Irma, Richard, David, Loftus, I follow you on Instagram too. Donald, Dinah, and Brandon Garrett, beautiful, the whole family. Sandra Mack, John, Don Hall, hey, from, I don't know if you're still in Georgia or if you're back in the Czech Republic, but sending our love to you, Don Hall. And Demita. So good to have you guys with us this evening. We are going to grab our closing affirmation, and then I'm going to let Brandy give us a little bit of instruction of how to get off of this event and then back on to the cooking show in just a minute. Come on, let's read our closing affirmation tonight. Tonight, I am willing to recognize dysfunction. If suffering is the normal state of humanity, I do not wish to be normal. If I've created God in my image, I will surrender to the truth that I am made in God's image. I am neither an external physical form nor any internal thought form. I am a spiritual being capable of experiencing physical form and the observing presence open to considering a diversity of thoughts. My present thoughts do not reflect my eternal capacity. I love that. My potential for awakening to self and spiritual transformation are endless. Amen. And so it is. All right, Brandy, give us some instructions about our show.
It should be pretty simple for those of you on Facebook and YouTube. I've got links posted right in your chat. So you guys should be able to just click there and jump over. For live stream, you might not be able to click the link, but you should just be able to back out, and it'll be right there on your homepage, just like the normal events. And we will be back. We'll plan to go live in about 10 minutes.
We'll see you guys at 7:30. Let's cook. Let's get some cooking going. We love you guys.